How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah.
Really good.
Ready for this chat?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Really am.
Well, I know. I feel like we've been had this in the diary or been trying to arrange it for ages.
Yeah, totally. I think though the fact that it's now and it's after the Aries full moon, it feels like it was always meant to be at this time. I
Yeah.
think we were going to do it on the Leo um,
mm.
new moon. Think
Yeah, I
originally.
think because it was. Yeah.
That would have been slap bang in the middle of my chaos of setting up the shop and like full Leo energy as well. So it would have just
But I don't know if that's
would
about
be
well.
romantic, but you've caught us now on like now I'm on the kind of down low after all of the
Mm.
shop setup.
And how's it feeling like now the shop's up and running?
It feels
Love it.
amazing. It feels amazing. It's like I can't actually believe I've done it and it's all over. I don't really
Mm.
know what I'm going to do with my time now that I'm not like setting up, like talking to builders every day, talking to solicitors and
Mm.
kind of doing all the prep, looking for the new stock and things like that. It's like it's been so much work, and now it's over. So I'm just like I don't know, chilling out with you, doing the little podcast, fun with the tank this afternoon.
So nice. And I guess that's the thing that people like will go to the new shop on Broadway Market, and will be like, oh my god, this is so beautiful, this is so chill, this is so amazing, and you just don't see all of the
Yeah, the build
hard work and the emotion
up, the emotion,
behind it.
yeah, completely. And you know what? Actually, when I was looking at it, so basically, it was the Aries new moon when we kind of when we went
Yeah.
into down.
Yeah, because we were
Yeah,
talking about it, weren't we, when we went for dinner, and we were talking about kind of like whether you stay where you were or the
exactly.
other place.
Exactly. And I don't know if you remember actually, because we were having quite a few chats about it, but I was trying to decide whether to stay at 15 Broadway Market
Hmm.
where we were or move to 74 Broadway Market.
Yeah.
Um, there's different circumstances in each of them, but every day I just felt, I just kept feeling like stuck a little bit
Yeah,
in
because you kept getting the hangman, didn't you?
kept getting the hangman, kept getting the tower
Hmm.
as well. And this is just before lockdown. And now I kind of like, obviously, now I realize
Now,
that's
yeah.
what it really was. And that, but me and like Mish, who works at works as part of the team at SLC, she we just kept pulling the tower. She kept pulling it, and we're like, oh my god,
Mm.
what's going on? But and then lockdown happened, and it was kind of things started to become a little bit clearer, and I was like, right, well, I can't stay at 15 Broadway Market. I'm going to have to leave there because of
Mm.
circumstances with lockdown and things. And it just, I started to plant that seed with the Aries new moon,
Mm.
and it started to kind of work from there onwards to kind of decide what to do. And I kind of just like surrendered to the situation and just like let just kind of saw how things unfolded a little
Mm.
bit, and then we obviously opened on the Aries full moon, and I hadn't
Mm.
really like. It wasn't until it was meant to open in August, and then
Yeah. It's always the way, isn't it?
yeah, it was meant to open in September, and then it was like, and then I was like, oh my god, no, I've got to open on the 1st of October.
Mm.
It's got to be the Aries full moon.
Yeah, and your moon is in Aries as
And my
well.
moon is in Aries, so it's just such a powerful time for me as well. And yeah, and it was just that kind of thing of, this is something that I really enjoy doing with manifesting from the new moon through all the way through the 6 months. It's something you taught
Mm.
me actually, Tamara, in one of your circles, and it was
Mm.
kind of, plant the seeds in that, and then watch the 6 months go by and
Mm.
manifest, slow manifestation up to the point of where you kind of realize whatever that dream sort of is.
Mm.
It's kind of it really helps me. It really helps me kind of stay focused over a
Mm.
longer period of time, and it's really worked with this one. It really
Yeah, I
has.
love that. But is this similar with Pip with Now Studio? She did. It was the new moon in new moon in Taurus last year, and she like double dropped pyrite in one. She did one of my IG lives. It was like a moon ceremony with pyrite, but she did it twice, and then she said she was so wired she couldn't sleep because pyrite is just this
Yeah.
fire energy, isn't it? And then the next day she was told that this place that she was looking at, they then offered her another place that was bigger for less money.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Then but it had loads of work to do like on it, and then all the work got finished on the Taurus full moon
Wow.
last year, so she was ready to open the doors. So she didn't even connect that.
Yeah.
And then it's that reflection of like, when did I plant those seeds? And that's why I say to everybody, like, journal, write them down, like, see
Yeah.
what was kind of planted then and how that's coming through for you.
Exactly, and looking back on it, because that 6 months period is a long enough time for you to have started to kind of put the wheels in motion.
Mm,
And it really is beneficial, because it means that you can then implement that going forward as well. So
yeah.
it's really powerful.
And sometimes I think we think that we've got to rush the process, or we're running out of time.
Yeah,
So we can get really frustrated when it's like, oh, I had my heart set on it opening on this date, but it's like, it always happens when it's meant to. And I guess as well for you with the new shop, like Aries, that Aries energy is all about being a trailblazer
yeah,
and like injecting that full moon energy of abundance and celebration and culmination, and just really taking she's this control to the next level. Like, I'm getting goosebumps like thinking about it. It's just really putting that energy into it, as well as all of the crystal grids that you've done in the shop.
yeah, totally. I mean, the Aries. It's that Aries. It's my Aries moon that kind of
Mm,
drives me. It's that side of me that really pushes me with all of that. So
mm,
it's been kind of really good to really kind of journal on like my different emotions throughout the moon cycles, and really kind of figure out how I'm actually going to implement everything that I want to kind of
mm.
do. But I think it's my Aries moon that enables me to kind of have that foresight to, I don't know, like kind of keep my business head screwed on a little bit, I think.
Yeah, but also I think for you it's act first, think later.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, your Aries, you're like, because it's just go, and it's just you're so quick to just go with that energy and deal with it later, which I think is really powerful. It can be, I can imagine sometimes it's stressful, because then when you get time to think about it, you're like, oh my God, like, how is this going to work out? But it makes you get shit done, whereas so many people just overthink the, shall I do this, shan't I do this, what is this the right time to, and
Yeah,
by that time sometimes the energy's gone,
yeah.
and something else is coming through for them, but you're always like so quick.
Yeah, completely. That is true, actually. And I do always kind of just act first, think later. But I think, like
It's
on
trusting your intuition. It's not like a blind
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
It's just, yeah.
I just kind of can see a route to something
Mm,
sometimes, and then just think, well, I'll just do it, and
yeah.
then I'll kind of be open to whatever opportunities kind
Mm,
of land at my feet along the way, or
yeah,
or
yeah. But I think but that's just what I think has made like your journey like what it is, and
yeah,
SLC as a brand what it is,
yeah,
and the community that you're building with that, and the team that you've got as well.
yeah, definitely. I think because if I think about me, like me on a new moon versus me on a full moon, two
Yeah,
completely different people. So
really.
like I end up like new moon for me is, it's where I kind of actually thrive on that Aries energy, actually, and
Hmm.
that's when I start getting excited and getting to create a flow. I have all these idea out downloads, and that's when I'm like, right, start of a new cycle. Like
Yeah.
I really get in the flow.
Mm.
By the time I get to full moon, I'm often quite I can be quite exhausted, actually.
Mm.
And even though we do moon cycles we do moon circles every full moon, every new moon, SLC, and
Mm.
actually on the full moons, I quite often just need to go inwardly, and I
Mm.
just kind of maybe I'll watch it later on, record it, and watch it and
Mm.
do it myself later. But for me, full moon's not. It's a time where I just have to kind of really go inward and
Mm.
kind of like reflect and kind of just have some real downtime.
Mm. It's so empowering to have that awareness as well, because I think so many people put pressure on themselves to be like, new moon, got to do something, waxing moon, or full moon, got to do something with all the things. But I think often there'll be one that resonates with you more, and that's your time to be making magic. Or sometimes you might be drawn to the new moon, another time you might be drawn to a full moon, depending on what zodiac sign it's in. And it's just so important to just find your own flow with like where
Yeah.
that is and what works for you. But what do you know what moon phase you were born under by any
Uh,
chance?
moon phase.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was waxing.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's like the go energy as well.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I can't remember what I was going to say there. Something about the full moon, but I've forgotten.
Oh yeah, but it is. I think so many people can like the full moon energy can go either of two ways. And it's different for me. Like some of them are just so intense. So for me, the Aries full moon, like that was last week at the time of recording this, was so intense for me.
Yeah,
Like so intense. I was like buzzing, but it just there was a lot.
exactly. And that's what I was going to say actually, that which obviously I know you know a lot about as well.
Mm,
It's that kind of tuning into our kind of feminine cycles.
yeah.
So I've done a lot of work on that recently, especially
Mm,
through lockdown. And what's really interesting, I mean, I wish I'd done it years ago, to be honest.
mm,
I can't believe I didn't, but just really understanding what's going on with my body and how that kind of works in tune with the moon cycle.
mm,
So, for instance, when I ovulate on a full moon, then
yeah.
that's when I kind of feel all empowered actually, and that's
Mm,
one time when there's a full moon that I actually feel different. I don't feel as kind of I don't feel like I want to hide away as much.
yeah.
But, normally I do, but I've really
Mm,
noticed that actually when it's time that I ovulate, because I actually ovulate, I actually my cycles are like 25 days.
okay.
Every each moon I change every
Yeah.
the moon cycle, so I'll be waxing, waning, full moon, new moon. It's every time it's
Mm,
me. So it's really interesting to kind of tune in and watch and what's actually happening, and then you can kind of really figure out, right, well, this is when I know I'm going to be really productive,
mm,
or that this is that I'm going to be able to be creative and really get in the flow, but or it might be a time when you're going to feel really tired and you just
yeah.
need to kind of take a step back. So you can kind of plan a little bit as
Yeah.
well. I know you don't necessarily want to plan everything.
No, I think it's working with your energy though. Like my periods are quite irregular, so I wish I try to do that as much as I can. But it's so nice when you are more when you kind of know that you've got a more regular pattern.
Yeah, definitely. It's really good, and it's just not recognizing those emotions more than anything.
Mm,
We all feel completely different at different times of the month, and it's all due to the changes in our hormone levels. And it has a really big impact. But when you combine that with the energies of the moon and what's actually going on out up there, then it kind of really can impact on how you're feeling, how your day goes, really.
yeah. Well, have you you'll know Lisa Lister, but like she in her new book, like she talks about, and she's been sharing it on Instagram posts, like what it means to bleed on different phases of the moon. So it
Yeah,
has different messages, and then also I haven't read it in the book yet. I want to just have like a full day to read it. I just have not had the chance with everything going on. But she talks about bleeding, what it means to bleed on different new like moons,
yeah.
that the zodiac sign as well.
So she talks about the full moon bleed,
Mm,
and it's in that's kind of that's when you're going to be all empowered, and that's when you need to kind of drive something forward,
mm,
which yeah totally resonates with me, because like I was saying, with when I'm not um, bleeding on a full moon, I
mm,
kind of don't I kind of I'm quite lethargic. I haven't got the energy. I want to kind of just like hibernate a little bit.
mm,
But when I'm a completely different person. So it does really resonate. Yeah, she's got some really good info out there on,
yeah.
and yet, like you said, tying in the zodiac as well just adds that additional layer to it, because that's
Mm,
such a huge impact as well.
yeah.
Like when it's like in August when it was in Leo season, I was kind of completely different again, because I've got quite a lot of Leo in my chart, and
Mm,
strong connections with Leo, and again that full moon is really kind of potent for me.
mm. And that what I was gonna say, and I guess that just you might do you find that as you're with having the shop and having all the events, because you've completely, because of lockdown, you've pivoted in so many ways as well, haven't you? Like I mean, we've all
Yeah,
had to.
yeah,
And you've got the online like digital events now, and like the community culture thing, which is like incredible. And like do you find, because you're working with all of these different healers and teachers and practitioners, like how like, because I remember when you first opened She's Lost Control on like Valentine Road, and like you were doing all of the workshops and like so much like doing in that side of it, and you must
Yeah.
have just had this like turbo healing thing going on, and like attending all of those things at the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think yeah, when I look back at me then, and I think about the kind of beginning of that sort of journey, I kind of obviously hadn't experienced. I'd experienced there wasn't as many of us doing these
No.
sessions in the way that we do now. That kind
Mm.
of more modern, sort of more accessible healing, and I just kind of jumped ahead and just did it. Had was starting to
There's
move
your Aries moon again.
starting to move in that direction, and just and it became quite overwhelming actually when I
Mm.
look back now and think about it. It was like quite sort of eye-opening. We were attending, like Cheryl and I, my business partner at the time, we were attending pretty much every
Yeah.
session, like 3 or 4 sessions a week, and this was like deep stuff. um and yeah, it kind of, I suppose it's just about, well, balance and kind of getting it right. But it's
Mm.
now I kind of separate the two quite a lot. I
Yeah.
attend quite a few of the sessions, but I also do a lot of like self-healing, and a lot
Mm.
of, for me, I kind of associate in some ways, like it's like going to work, some of the
Yeah.
sessions. So it's quite difficult to kind of really
Well,
get
you're
in.
not going to switch off in the same way as you would, because it's your space. I know whenever, I don't know if it's your space, you're always kind of, if you hear a noise or
Yeah.
you don't switch off from being the hostess, do you?
And it's the same with the digital, with the community culture that we're doing. I might be there present in the session, but I'm looking at the comments, I'm checking someone's
Mm.
on here, someone, I'm replying. So there's things like that it can get it's not actually that beneficial. So I often need to decide, right, am I participating in this session? If I am,
Mm.
is there somebody from the team who's also here, so that
Mm.
I can kind of actually participate? Otherwise it can just have the opposite effect. It's not
Yeah.
beneficial at all.
Mm.
um, but then, so that's when, like, self healing's become really important for me. Like, I'm trained in sound healing, and did my Reiki with
Yeah.
you. But I don't. That's all for me. So
Mm.
I do sound healing out in groups sometimes, but very rarely. It's more,
Mm.
that's like my kind of sacred time.
Yeah.
That's all for me.
I love it. I think it's so important to have something back for yourself,
Yeah,
because when it's just that tipping point, isn't it? When we've both kind of started out these businesses, not to really set up a business, but because we're so passionate and interested, and this is what we want to be doing, and then it becomes a job, and then the boundaries get blurred, and it's really kind of hard to kind of separate yourself. So it's so important to do things that are just for you,
yeah, definitely.
where you're in receiving mode, and you're not in that position to kind of like you're still working, because you can know it's hard to switch off, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Really hard to switch off, and like with SLC, it's like it's 24/7 pretty much. It's
Mm.
like constantly getting
It
like,
is when you've got Instagram, you've got people messaging you at
exactly.
crazy o'clock.
Yeah, and sometimes I think it, like, from the outside, maybe it looks bigger
Mm.
than what it is, and a lot of the time it has, through lockdown, it was just the two of us, myself and Katya, trying to kind of hold everything together, and
Mm.
we kind of built it back up again, and there's like 5 of us now again. But yeah, it can seem, from the outside looking in, it can
Yeah.
actually seem like there's more going on, and there's more people answering those calls, but
Yeah, I think that I've just like been doing like Lunar Vision, which was like a 5-day moon phase course, and I just was like, oh, I think I'm gonna do this thing, and I always think, oh, is anyone gonna sign up? And I've had like over 500 people sign up, but you're not just managing the groups and things; it's people that can't get on or
yeah,
aren't receiving their emails. So you're having to do this kind of customer service and replying to all the, and I'm loving it, but I was like, I've got to cap it, because if any more people, normally I'd keep it open for latecomers, but I was like, I need to be able to manage my energy. It
yeah.
is just me, but like, as I've spoken to you before, I know I know I need to get like a virtual assistant.
It totally is.
But I'm like, someone like, I said it to one of my friends the other day. I was like, but I just haven't even got time to look for that person, which is a clear sign that I need to do that. I've got so much resistance. Like, I was even gonna,
Yeah.
like, you know, like the cover, and I was gonna post on their job board, and I posted, like, typed it out, and then I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like, I've just got to do it. Like, I was speaking to my friend Giselle, because we were saying something, we were having a similar conversation, and she's like, yeah, I'm the same, I've got resistance. I was like, let's be accountability buddies, like, let's just put the ads out there. Like, by the end of the week I've got to do it.
Yeah, definitely. You
Because
could
you've
even,
always said that's the best thing for you, like for your business, like, do it before, was it do it before you're ready?
yeah, I'd always, that's always been, well, again, it's my
Yeah.
it's like I've always, I've always stretched myself
Mm,
in business. So, and I've always seen the benefit of kind of, you've got to think about it, that obviously you're bringing this extra person in to, like, to take the weight off you, but also
mm,
take the workload off you, so that you can actually um, do more of the things that are actually going to pull in more revenue, or
yeah.
like help your business grow. So,
Mm,
in doing that, so that's, if you get the right person, that is what will happen.
yeah.
Like, that's like, it's no this, that's just the science.
Mm.
Maths, maybe.
Has it always been easy for you to find the right people?
No,
No.
not really. It's hard.
Mm,
It is hard to find the right people. You do have to dedicate the time to it, but you
mm,
have to be really. What I have learned actually in having employed people in the past, and kind of finding the right people, is just to be completely honest with what it is that this job entails.
yeah.
And because you want someone that's genuinely, really into wellness, and really into everything that you do and everything that
Mm,
you are, but in addition, you need them to have that skill set that.
yeah.
And yeah, so there can be a lot of, like, overexcitedness a lot of the time, and
Mm,
sometimes you just need to rein it back and just check that skill set's there for
mm,
support you, make you feel kind of like you can step away.
yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
It's over.
Gonna manifest that that person.
Yeah,
It is just, I just got, like, even I think my limiting belief around that is, like, if it's the right, is it going to be more hard work if it's the wrong person? And then, because it's my baby, like, literally, like, I've worked on it so much over the years, like, long, like, crazy hours. And I think it is just that,
yeah, I know.
handing it over.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. It's but it's like, I've got a great team around
Yeah.
me, and
Yeah,
it's,
you've got an incredible team, like,
yeah, they're all
dream squad.
yeah, totally. And SLC wouldn't be where it was now if it wasn't
Mm,
for them. And feeling supported is the main thing for me. And
mm,
they completely do that.
yeah. And how do you, like, balance your kind of, like, work life balance? Does that exist? Because I was like, I was talking to another friend about it, because all right, so I was reflecting on my journaling. So we've just had the full moon in Aries. Then I looked at my new moon in Aries journaling, and then looked at my full moon in Aries from last year journaling, which is, like, it was just mind blowing to see what has come through in that time, what I was reflecting on, how that's manifested, how I was feeling about things, how things have shifted. But also just things that I was pondering. So at one of them, I can't remember which one, it was like, oh, I just feel like I need to be more creative. Like, I've just spent so much time on my work, but actually I'm so creative that my work is the way that I express myself.
Yeah, exactly. It's create that's creation. That's
Yeah.
creative. Yeah.
Yeah. It is crazy.
But with, yeah, work life
Yeah.
balance, it's a tough one, because it comes in. I mean, lockdown has been crazy, to be honest,
Mm,
for me and for business. Pre-lockdown, I was getting into really good flow with kind of routine with the well, it was a new shop at the time,
mm,
15th of
yeah.
March, when we opened in December. And yeah, it was feeling really good. The balance was there. We were having a really fun time, which was actually, it's what it's all about,
Yeah.
really. Um, And then lockdown hit, and it was just all, yeah, like you said, pivot, adapt as quickly as possible, to survive. Really, it was
Mm,
about it was survival mode a little bit, and
mm.
we did a good job, but the work life, it's just difficult. It's difficult to know where the day ended, where it started.
Yeah.
Really, we kind of, what we did was we had this kind of thing. This is called Asana, which is like a,
Oh,
project.
yeah, yeah.
It's like an app, and we decided to use that between. There was the three of us working at the time, and it was just to kind of make sure that we weren't interfering. We weren't WhatsApping basically.
Yeah.
I didn't want to
Good.
like.
I think I'm so
Oh,
strict with that. Like I speak to a lot of like clients that come to me for readings and they're burnt out and then they just let slip, oh yeah, these work WhatsApps. I'm like, banish, like do
yeah,
it for everybody, not just for you, but your whole team, because no one can switch off. It's bad enough with emails.
yeah, exactly. And so the main thing with that was that it was a good opportunity to, if I thought of something at Sunday night, I'd
Mm,
WhatsApp Catcher or someone on the
mm,
team. I can put it in Asana, and then she can see that, and she can just complete the task in her own time.
mm-hmm.
In lockdown, we're all working, we're all dealing with our own shit,
Yeah.
and we're all we're not necessarily working conventional hours. I had to kind of, sometimes I'd be working on a Sunday
Mm,
nights, and then I'd just be like not doing anything on the Monday, just wanting to kind of relax. And and the rest of the team would also, they should be given that chance as well, because we're all
yeah.
going through the same kind of thing together. So something like that really helps to kind of. But yeah, you're right. With the WhatsApp, is a bit of a nightmare, because
Yeah.
there's no end to it, and it's just constant.
Yeah.
I've taken off my thing where people, the blue tick thing, so you can't see.
Oh, right.
I know that just pisses some people off. They're like, well, that's really like, why have you done that?
No, I think it just gives you that headspace. I'm like one of my friends, she does it. And it's so that her mother-in-law can't see if she's opened the messages. But it just freaks me out because I think she hasn't read it and then she's just replied.
Like, yeah, that's said to me. They're like, well, you just freak that you're just like, you're making me feel bad, because then I don't know if you've read it or not, if you're just ignoring me. I'm like,
Yeah.
what if I open it and I forget to reply? Then you'll be
Yeah.
judging me for.
Yeah, it's hard. It's so, and I think it just triggers so much guilt for people if they haven't, like, my DM inbox is just like such a mess at the moment because there's so many messages like I want to get back to, but then other things come through, and I try and be strict. Like if people inquire about things, I'm always like, please get me on email, because
Yeah,
things will come through, even if it's just someone doing a smiley face to a post. It hides other
exactly.
messages. Like even with my friends, I'm like, don't DM me. Get me on like WhatsApp for me is like friends.
Yeah,
Email, like DM is like Instagram DMs is like just Instagram in itself, and then emails is work
yeah,
conversations.
exactly.
But I've started like now when I do emails, because sometimes I'm more nocturnal, which probably isn't great for my hormones and getting everything balanced, and that's probably an issue. That's probably why I'm nocturnal, because my hormones are out of balance. But I end up working late quite a lot because that's just where I feel like I work best. But I now, when I send emails, I schedule them to go to actually be sent the next day at like 9 o'clock,
Yeah, that's
because
kind of
I don't want someone to then get my email,
a Sunday night. Yeah,
yeah, and then be like then thinking about it, even if they're not going to reply, it's
yeah,
still energetically that channel's then been opened.
yeah, exactly. Mm.
So that's what I like do, because also I don't want them to reply and then it just starts this like
Yeah, yeah,
whole other thing. But coming back to like She's Lost Control, and like you are like one of London's main crystal dealers. And like you go to like, is it, do you say we call it Tucson?
yeah.
Yeah,
Tucson. Yeah,
it's spelt like Tucson, isn't it? But it's
yeah.
Tucson. So
Tucson.
like you've gone to like the holy grail Mecca or whatever of just crystal
Yeah.
everything, and stood next to crystals that are like taller than you in a house and everything. But how did crystals come into She's Lost Control? Was it crystals and then she lost control, or She's Lost Control then crystals and your jewelry?
Yeah, it was crystals, then she says control. So it was
Oh yeah, because your uncle wasn't that. got
Yeah,
into it?
yeah, actually, well, I'd always been into the crystals. My uncle's like gave me a book on. He's a like a scientist, like a chemist in a lab, and
Mm,
he kind of worked with minerals. So chemistry, the periodic table, all that side of things, and then just crystals in their form has always
mm,
been a complete obsession, fascination of mine. And mainly about how they grew, and I just could not believe this that they grew in this form
mm,
in nature. So it kind of began then, and I was a buyer, fashion buyer, and when I made the jump and left my job to retrain as a jeweler, the kind of natural the natural thing to do was to use crystal jewelry for me. It just seemed
mm.
obvious. And back then there wasn't really any like kind of
Not
modern
nice,
jewelry
like,
out there. I mean,
yeah.
talking about like 10 years ago or
Mm,
something, 9 years ago, it was um, so the idea was that I'd be designing fine jewelry in gold and silver,
mm,
bespoke with these crystals. And at this point, I had no idea. I knew that there was like they're meant to have all these different meanings and stuff, and I thought, oh yeah, I'm not really, I don't really know a lot about that world. But
mm,
then I really quickly started to learn about it, mainly because of the customers coming back to me and the
mm.
stories they were telling me about how they felt when they were wearing their jewelry.
Wow.
So that's when I started to get into it a bit more. And I'm quite often like I'm really into the science of things. So
Mm,
I need to understand why. I need to understand that before I can kind of delve into something. So I just started looking into it more, and then started to experience it for myself. And it was when I made a smoky quartz necklace for myself, and I really felt that helped me. Like with my creative flow, I could really focus whenever I wore this specific necklace.
mhm,
It was kind of, I always talk about smoky quartz balancing, because of this very moment,
mm,
balance creative head with your business head, because I
mhm,
swear it was because of smoky quartz that I really was able to kind of push my business forward.
mhm,
And then I think crystals kind of taken me on my journey, but then the jewelry kind of not died down, but I just became more obsessed with just the crystals more than
mm.
the jewelry itself.
Yeah.
And that's when and Cheryl, who I founded SLC with back in 2015, was also starting on a similar sort of journey, and
Mm,
it just felt right to kind of, well, it was a passion project. I was going
mm,
to call it. It just began. It was where we were in our lives. We were at a point where, we were into like fashion, and like we wanted to look and feel good, but we were
mm,
also into like meditation, sound healing, crystals, and I just didn't fit in. And we just didn't feel like we fitted in. Like I'd go to like crystal shops, and I just felt like I didn't know enough. I felt a bit intimidated,
mm,
and so I developed a shop. Well, we launched a shop that, or a kind of a space that
mm.
felt that we would feel comfortable in, that we
Yeah.
would where we could kind of express, like, form of self-expression a little bit back then, I suppose.
Mm,
And it was the community side of things had always been a really big value, a really big focus point, because
mm.
it was, you know, we wanted to build our community, like, and you came and did this session, like the really very early days, like something, and it's like, I think it was like you, Geordie Shield, Pip,
Mhm,
the little group back then, and
mm,
we wanted to start to build a community in a space where we could hang out, where we could experience the things we wanted to experience, because
mm.
it wasn't really on offer anywhere. So
No.
it really began like that, and then it's just kind of grown and grown from that point, really. But that
Mm,
community aspect's been like really important all the way through.
mm,
I mean, even so, communities in the sense of like the community of practitioners and the
mhm,
healers that we work with, and
mm,
then also it's like multi-layered. So it's the communities, so helping to kind of transform the minds and lives of people who come to the events themselves, but then also the communities along the supply chain that we work with, who might have absolutely no idea that this alternative wellness
yeah.
on, and that, you
Yeah.
know, they are impacted
Mm.
by what we do, um, whether it's positively or negatively.
Hmm.
That's just something that needs to be kind of consciously, you know, really monitored. But yes, as the communities, it's right the way down the chain to the
Hmm.
miners that are mining for our crystals. So that
Mm.
community has been is really key.
Mm. And that's it, because what is it, crystal clear?
Yeah, so Crystal Clear is so it's a not-for-profit organisation that I set up. Been working on it for like 2 years, but
Mm.
it's just such a huge job, and the it's basically it's basically to open the dialogue on sustainable crystals, and just to kind of start talking and educating people and getting the information out there about
Mm.
where our crystals come from and what is actually going on. And
Yeah.
the industry is quite outdated, well, extremely outdated. I mean, you mentioned Tucson.
Yeah.
So Tucson is this massive trade fair where literally everybody, practically all crystal retailers, I mean, especially in America, but from around the world, you've got to go to Tucson to buy your stock. And
Mm.
what happens is they generally go and buy a whole year's worth of stock.
Mm.
I mean, the first year I went, I was like quite shocked by it. It's so
Is
huge.
it like a whole town that's taken over?
Yeah. So it's the whole of Tucson. So it's like it's massive in every hotel, every car park. I think there's like it's like a huge trade show in the whole city, and it's pretty overwhelmed when you first go there. But what
Mm.
became really not really evident to me the first time I went was the lack of dialogue around ethical crystals, and
Mm.
how easy it is for a trader to just say, "Oh yeah, yeah, of course they're ethical. Yeah, they're
Mm.
ethical." It's like, right, okay, well, try and delve a bit deeper with that, and
Mm.
you're up against it because you can't really get any further than that, because the truth of it is that a lot of crystals, you know, they're kind of bought in by uh, there's like big markets like say in Bahia in Brazil, and
Mm.
the big Chinese buys will maybe come in and buy in huge bulk, and then it'll be all shipped over to China. Then it'll just kind of all be dispersed from that
Mm.
point, whether it's cut and made into your gua sha or your face roller
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Hmm.
But the bottom line of it is that that traceability from that point of that being bought by a Chinese, I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
A lot goes through China. So a lot goes through India to be cut and polished as
Hmm.
well, America. But you lose visibility of the miners themselves and the community
Mm.
themselves that are actually mining these stones. And you know, a lot of them, there's 40 million. It's like artisanal small scale miners, mining communities. It's like 40 million worldwide, and they live hand to mouth, and that,
Mm.
you know, exploitation is a big thing. So it needs to be talked about, and it needs
Mm.
to be, and it's not a case of, in my opinion, it's not a case of just stopping buying these
Hmm.
crystals if you find out that they're from a conflict area, like for instance, mining crystals from Africa.
Hmm. Yeah.
You might think, oh God, let's, you know, I'll stay away from them, but actually that's not helping those communities on the ground. So
Yeah, they
crystal,
need that money. That's, for some of them, that's the only way that they can
yeah,
earn money.
yeah, exactly. And but it's about actually educating them as well on the value
Mm.
of the stones that they're mining. So this is some work that I'm doing at the minute. So Crystal Clear is basically, it is me.
Yeah. Another one of your projects.
This organisation is also me, but it's a subsidiary. It's paid. It's sponsored by She's Lost Control. So
Hmm.
She's Lost Control funds Crystal Clear currently,
Yeah.
and Crystal Clear donates money at the minute to these communities. I'm working with one in a community of women in Africa, in Malawi, at Rose Quartz Mine, and then in Bahia where we get golden rutile,
Mm.
and with the African women miners, it's about, this is huge that they are even mining and getting money for what they're mining. It's a really male dominated industry,
Hmm.
so that in itself is really empowering for them.
Yeah.
So great to work with these women. That honestly, they're amazing. And for them, they don't even know that rose quartz. They said to me, "Well, what? That's like waste product." Because I actually met
Yeah,
some.
because I feel, yeah, that's the other thing as well. A lot, some of it is waste product as well.
Yes, and now I'm like actually helping them see that they can make revenue from this product that they think is waste when they're
Mm,
really, they're mining for ruby, sapphire
mm,
in this part of Malawi, but it's and in Tanzania as well. But actually, if they can get some money for this waste product, then that's great for them. It's a whole
mm,
other new income stream, and like the longer term plan is to kind of work with these communities. I mean, this is like a lifelong plan, really, but it's
mm,
about working with them and building lapidary schools so we can teach them how to cut and polish, so then it doesn't need to be sent somewhere else. So we're
mm,
like kind of adding value and skills at
mm,
source. Um, so it's yeah, there's a lot of work to be done on it, but it feels good to be able to like talk about it and it
mm,
inform people of what actually is going on out there, because there's a lot of kind of there's miscommunication out there, and I just think we just need to be talking about it to get it
yeah,
out there.
yeah. And I think there are so many shady sides to clothes and like
Yeah.
everything, food. There's a shadow side to everything. But I think with, I mean, I know that I've had like messages from people when there's been like an article in the press
Yeah.
about like, are crystals the new blood diamonds? And so many people freak out.
Roles and yeah, exactly. That was actually a big help to me. There was a Guardian article that came out last
Mm,
year, and it was in, I think it was in like August last year, and I then went out to Tucson and met up with. I actually was speaking to the journalist who wrote the article as well, and it
mm,
was, um, and it helped me in Tucson explain to the wholesalers and the traders actually what was happening and what
mm,
people were waking up to and what people were talking about, because
mm,
a lot of traders feel like they might not be doing anything bad, they might be getting their crystals could be ethical, but the
mm.
problem is there's no validated proof of that
Yeah.
because there's no system in place. Like we have fair trade cotton, and
Mm,
now we have fair trade gold, but there's nothing that exists. So I'm working on with Fair Mind actually on kind of getting some guidelines in place where we can start to actually um, validate and show the
mm.
transparency of the supply chain, because it's
Amazing.
really important.
Yeah. And I think it's just for them as well. It
Yeah,
gives them something to kind of that represents them
yeah,
and supports
exactly.
them.
Exactly, and it's a really nice industry as well, and it's if we think about like you mentioned clothes, and yeah, obviously that's for me, that's why, because I used to work in fashion, and I can kind of that's why I kind of understand more of this, like the transparency side of things and
Mm,
sustainability and how it all needs to work. But with the crystal industry, it's so kind of outdated that it does need to be you need to kind of like educate and inform so that
mm,
we move forward with it.
yeah. And like, even what was the convention that you went to?
So yeah, so the biggest problem is jewelry. So this was,
Mm,
I kind of figured that in order to kind of break through with the crystal industry and kind of get somewhere, I'd kind of integrate more with the jewelry industry.
mm,
We know that we heard about blood diamonds and things like that, and it's all so in actually gold is one of the worst, has one of the worst impacts on the environment and on society, after agriculture
mm-hmm.
globally. So it's
Wow.
a huge issue. Not a lot of people are aware of it actually, but there's a lot of deaths annually, and it's um it's all about how it's mined, and you extract a lot of mercury is used, which is really toxic.
Mm,
So that's a big issue. So I decided to go out to Chicago to the Sustainable Jewelry Conference to meet with all of these kind of pioneers who are really driving things forward with gold
mm-hmm.
and precious stones. And I was the only person there to represent the crystal side of things, the
Mm. How
wellness.
did you feel about that?
I felt a bit, out of my depth, to be honest, to begin
Mm,
with. I also felt like I felt quite excited about it at the same
Mm.
time because it became really clear that this is all, I mean, the people I met there are all really good friends now, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll like meet. Well, we were meant to be meeting again in Tucson, but
Mm.
there's a movement there. There's
Mm.
a movement of people who um, really give a shit and who really want to change the world and really want to help these communities that are on the ground. So there's a lot of grassroots initiatives that you can kind of take, or that I'm definitely taking a lot of inspiration from and can get support with what I'm trying to do. And there's a lot of similarities there. So it's really kind of, yeah, it was really eye-opening for me,
Mm.
really eye-opening.
I love it. It's like it's so inspiring.
Still very serious. You've gone to talk
Yeah,
about,
but yeah, I can imagine that I would just yeah, but that would put a lot of people. Reason why I ask is that would put a lot of people off because that can bring up like your imposter syndrome,
yes,
can't it? Of like, oh my god, who am I? I've got there were these people that
yeah.
know all of this, and then who am I? And that could put a lot of people off. But again, your Aries moon, hello.
I'm a Leo rising, babe.
All right, yeah, and that. All
um,
that
yeah,
Leo.
it was brilliant. Like it's
Mm.
just it's going to be happening probably digitally this year, but
Mm.
it was just so great to kind of just jump on a plane, which you can't do now.
No, well, yeah,
It was
unless
really,
you're on a quarantine.
yeah. And one of the people, someone that I met there actually, so I met with a lot of actual miners, and
Mm.
there was two tribe leaders from Rodinia in the Amazon, who it was the first time they'd ever left the jungle,
Mm.
let alone got on a plane and flew to Chicago.
Yeah.
Um, now they, it was really interesting. They had come to seek our help,
Mm.
everyone at the conference, to kind of help them reach the market.
Mm.
So what they were seeing, it was around the time as well we were seeing all the Amazon fires and things like
Yeah.
that. So it was all really kind of relevant at the time as well. And they were suffering from illegal logging, which is when like illegal groups come in and cut down trees and make space for agriculture or for mining gold.
Mm.
And so they wanted to actually be able to sell, to mine themselves, to
Mm-hmm.
mine. They knew where gold, what they know where gold is in
Mm.
within their territory, and they also know how to protect and look after the Amazon. So they were actually there to meet everyone and just to get everyone's support on empowering, to empower them as a civilization, so that they can actually be the ones that are linked up to the marketplace, and they're the one they want to trade. They feel like they need to do it to protect
Mm-hmm.
their livelihood and the Amazon. Um, so that was really great to meet them, because we were talking about they have they mine topaz, so they've
Mm-hmm.
got some really beautiful topaz, and there's some rough pieces that are, again, like they think are no good because they're just for jewelry, but
Yeah.
actually I was able to get some of those pieces from them, and then start a kind of hopefully you'll be able to buy more from them in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And also they grow really great cacao, so it was kind of right, what else can
Amazing. Yeah.
we work with you, how can we
Mm.
like help? And everybody at the conference was like thinking about, okay, how, what is it that this, because there's 2000, it was a civilization of 2000 of them
Mm.
in Virginia, and it was kind of this particular tribe, and they've got so many skills within
Mm.
this tribe that they want to kind of get out into the world so that they can
Mm.
protect their territory. So
Yeah.
it's really great hearing firsthand, because there's a lot of nervousness out there in the media and socials about kind of cultural appropriation and
Yeah.
about things like that. So it felt really good to actually speak to these tribe leaders who were like, no, actually we
Yeah.
need your help.
Yeah.
We want to supply this. We want
Mm.
to do it right. We want to do it respectfully, and we want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure um, that we're the ones that are kind of providing this route to the marketplace. Because if we don't, then unfortunately, the way that the world is, illegal loggers will come in, and
Mm.
that's when the Amazon's really endangered.
Mm. Yeah, it's so tragic, isn't it, that they're even in that position.
No.
But and yeah, even like, just what was what you were saying about like cultural appropriation, because that's just a big conversation that also needs to be had at the moment. Or kind of even I
Definitely.
saw Adele got so much stick recently because I think she got dressed up for carnival, and people were like, "That's cultural appropriation," and she was like, "No, I'm just appreciating." It's like cultural appropriation or appreciation,
Right,
but
yeah,
what like, and there was a massive conversation, and I think that just really illustrated like where that was kind of coming from.
yeah.
And even like with like celebrities, like when they'll have their hair in cornrows, again, that's cultural appropriation.
Mm,
Like cultural appropriation is like when you're taking from another culture, and also a lot of time people don't refer to where it's from. They don't reference and say
yeah,
this is where what it's from.
yeah,
And it's cultural appropriation when you're like I said, not honoring where it's come from, and you're doing it as fancy dress, and it's
yeah,
something that you can take off, or you're something you're just kind of like throwing it around. But with there are so many spiritual practices that are technically cultural appropriation.
yeah,
um but it's just finding that balance, like you said, from using it so that we're supporting
exactly.
the people that need it, but also having reverence for where that's come from. Because even the term, so you can use, if you, in my opinion, it's that you can use white sage, you can use Palo Santo, as long as it's sustainably sourced,
Yeah,
but do it respectfully. And what was I going to say, don't call it smudging,
yes,
because that's their, like in like Native American culture, that's where this comes from, and it's ceremonial, it's very sacred. But also a lot of people have been killed for, it's been illegal for them to even practice that.
yeah,
So when we can just do it freely, or like, oh, I've had a shit day, where's my Palo Santo,
yeah,
that's where the disconnect
yeah.
comes from.
I think it was legalized until like 1978 or something like
Yeah,
that.
and they still, it's not like, it's still that with everything that's happened this year, especially it's been heightened with Black Lives Matter,
Yeah,
and things that have happened with people. I saw like a horrible video of this guy who was like a Native American, and getting just, yeah, beaten up by the police just because he
yeah,
was from a tribe, and it's still going on. And I think that
yeah,
these having access to these like tools, not use it as an opportunity to get to know that culture
yeah,
and
exactly.
their history and where it's come from, and really appreciate that. And as your way of saying thank you, like, yeah, pay for that thing and make sure that that money energetically is going back to that tribe. But also, like, can you do any, sign a petition
Yeah,
or something else that's going to support
yeah,
those people?
yeah, completely. So there's like recently, obviously with everything happened with COVID, the
Mm,
Navajo community was really affected big time.
mm,
And I know that in Corsa, which is one of the brands we stock at SLC, I was speaking to them recently, and they've been working on actually supporting this Navajo community who actually have been really, really badly hit through COVID, but
mm,
just making sure that where they can get their produce, um, all their Native American produce, out to the world to get in,
mm,
but then also to give back with COVID rescue. So there's
mm,
been a lot of donations going back to those communities, and then obviously in Corsa and SLC as well, we kind of really explain the origins and the
yeah.
native traditions of of those communities.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to, I kind of feel a little bit like we, or especially me personally, I kind of do a lot of groundwork
Mm-hmm.
before we buy any crystals or
Yeah.
before we buy any sage or Palo Santo, and this is something that's just going to grow and grow and grow as the business kind of moves forward. But
Mm,
it's really important for me personally, to get my hands dirty with the communities themselves.
mm-hmm.
So it's something that, started off with the crystals. I can't just take someone's word for it.
Mm-hmm.
I need to actually get my hands dirty, and it's a really, really big undertaking to do that. It's huge.
Mm,
But it's the same with so that's one, the crystal clear side of things, is that's what we're doing with that. But then there's also, with the Palo Santo, we really it's equally, it's just as important, and with
mm,
stage just as important. And
mm,
so with Palo Santo, we we get that from Ecuador currently, and the um, the community. I spoke to them recently about this very issue, about
Mm,
social cultural appropriation, and
mm,
about it being specifically about Palo Santo being endangered, because there's a
mhm.
lot of memes out there
Yeah.
about being endangered, which actually it isn't. And there's two different types of Palo Santo, and one of them is undeniably endangered,
Mhm,
and it's I can't remember the exact two names of them, but if you go on our website, it's all I've got it written a whole
mhm,
piece on there, um, and he actually said to me, the kind of leader of the community he was in, who we actually buy the Palo Santo from, that it's having an adverse effect. So all these memes that are out there saying that it's endangered is actually making the demand go down. And if they
mhm,
haven't got the demand for it, then they can't keep harvesting, they can't keep producing, and it means that that's when illegal loggers come in again. So this is kind of
mm.
the kind of illegal logging thing is a huge
Yeah.
thing in all these, for all these communities. And he, so yeah, as long as they actually want to kind of sell to reputable retailers who are telling their story and
Mhm.
who are kind of giving back, so we give back money towards the replantation and things
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I was buying my Palo Santo from this company that they replant.
that. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's really important. I think they've like replanted 5,000 new trees this year.
Mhm.
Um, and there's a whole process on how you actually collect get
Yeah. Yeah,
Palo
because you
Santo.
have to let it, is it like cure? Let it
Yeah,
dry out.
fall naturally and
Mm.
dry out over a matter of years, and then you kind of collect it from the ground. But if you look, if anyone goes on our website, there's a whole piece on there, and I
Mhm.
explain the whole process of
Yeah.
how it all kind of how it works, because it's quite a detailed yeah process
Yeah.
really. But with the with just going back to the cultural appropriation side of things, it's you know it is important just to make sure that we're respectful of those traditions, and we
Mm.
kind of understand where they come from. And like you said, with with smudging, we never talk about smudging either,
Yeah.
because it's a whole different process.
Yeah.
It's Smudging is not smoke cleansing, and it's
No.
not it's not incense burning. It's
No.
different. It's
Yeah.
a different process, and that needs to be kept sacred. And if
Mm.
if for those who do want to smudge and who are smudging, I would assume that they're doing it, and also in a respectful kind of
Mhm.
way, in it with some with those tribes themselves,
Yeah.
or with someone who's kind of been initiated. So it's kind of it just needs to be respected for what
Mm.
it is.
Yeah, and I think you can use Palo Santo to smoke cleanse,
Yeah,
but just don't refer to it as smudging.
yeah, exactly,
I think
exactly.
if that's unless you're trained or initiated by a shaman, like even though I have been, I still step back from. I don't feel comfortable saying smudging
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
But yeah, in Luna, I wrote a section about kind of sustainability and cultural appropriation, and yeah, like just being careful with words we're using. But yeah, smoke cleanse. You can
yeah.
say smoke cleanse instead.
Yeah, and just as a customer as well, just asking the questions.
Mm,
Like that's the only way we're going to be able to move forward with all of this, if we just ask the questions of the retailers, like,
mm,
"Okay, where's my crystal from? How do you know anything about its journey?
mm,
Where's my Palo Santo from? Is it sustainable?" And just
yeah.
kind of the more we ask, and the more we put people on, not put people on the spot, so you don't really want to do that, but it needs to be more in the consciousness. It needs to be more
Mm,
in people's consciousness, that so that everybody's asking these questions, so that we're all on this journey together.
mm. And like, in case there's someone listening to this being like having a little mini freak out, like, oh my god, does this mean I can't buy crystals? Where do I buy crystals from? What does this mean? Can I not use smudging? Like, what do I do? Like, what would you advise someone that's like listening to this and thinking, like, to kind of help make their um crystal shopping or their Paolo Santo shopping like more conscious and sustainable?
Well, I think it's the same. It's as with anything that we
Yeah.
buy. It needs to be just checking in that you actually need to buy this, like
Yeah,
what.
100%. Have you already got 10 pieces of smoky quartz?
And obviously I sell crystals, but I'm very
Mm,
much like, I know you're like this as well, Tamara, that will have one or two that you work with at any one
mhm,
time, and it's
mhm,
not. I'm not constantly surrounded by a load of crystals, and I quite often will give crystals away to people
mhm,
as well when I've kind of finished with them. So I think it's asking that question first and foremost: do you really need this?
mhm.
But then also just asking the retailer or whoever it is who you're buying it from or receiving it from, just a few little questions about about its origins,
Mm,
and tune in, use your intuition to see if
mhm.
you feel like it is from a good place. And it's not to say that with crystals, I mean that I don't want to like freak anyone out, because it is a good industry as well. It's not like,
Mm.
if you compare like crystal mining to like technology, what we use quartz for, technology,
Yeah.
where this is
Like,
like really not comparable at all. It's
no.
comparable to gold mining or ore mining. It really is of really small impact when you A, on the environment, and B, on
Mhm.
society. It's low value produce as well, so it's not really sought after, and it's not something they're really going to be getting loads of conflict,
Yeah.
like we
Not
see.
like our phones, the minerals that are used
Well,
to
yeah,
make our phones, which are from conflict areas.
precisely, our iPhones, and also a lot of people don't realize there's gold in our iPhones.
Mm,
Gold, like I said before, is the worst mineral.
mm,
And so one thing I would advise anybody, if they are buying any jewelry, is to just either buy fair trade or fair mined,
mhm,
or recycled. That's something that's super important,
mm.
because that is where we need to make the big change. And I feel like if the change can start to happen in gold mining and sapphire mining and precious gemstones, then it will filter down to the crystal industry.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, it really, it really isn't as harmful. And there's the other side of it as well, is if you think, we're producing these clusters, we're selling these like beautiful mineral specimens.
mhm.
They're things that have been excavated with love to stay intact
Yeah,
anyway. So the sort of miners that are mining, especially like in the Himalayas and places like that, when they're kind of getting these beautiful intact specimens, it's because they've been excavated gently,
yeah.
and so it's not like necessarily using big explosives and things like that.
Mm,
So it's not a terrifying industry that needs to like complete overhaul at
mm,
all, but the conversation does need to start happening, and only just so that we can trace it, just so
mm,
we can say with honesty and complete integrity that this has come from this source, and that
mhm,
and and then you kind of know what you're selling. But the problem is that there's no there's no guidelines out there, there's no legislation that exists to
mhm.
actually provide retailers with that. So that's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to kind of develop.
Amazing. And I think so many more companies are, I mean, not enough, but more are getting switched on
Mhm.
to their impact and wanting to reduce that in different ways,
Yeah,
aren't they?
yeah, definitely, definitely. And it's about I always talk about I was lucky enough when we worked on Orbanyan, which was like an island in Croatia, which we're not going to now, which
I
you
know. That's amazing. That's
if
such a special
anybody,
place.
yeah, if anybody listening who knows what I'm talking, it'll know what I'm talking about. But I
Yeah.
am laughing. But yeah, I was lucky enough to work with Brian Spooner, who was one of the founders of the Eden Project.
Mhm,
And I've learned so much from Brian in terms of sustainable work practices, and just how to have a business model that has a triple bottom line, which really kind of
what does that mean?
it means it's if you think about like how you do your year-end accounts on your
Mhm,
business, and you have your bottom line, it's always financial. And with the triple bottom line, it means that you are looking at the social, environmental, and financial
mhm,
together. And only at that point can you, when you look at, that's how you see the true performance of your business.
mhm,
isn't just measured on how much money you're making. So this is when it becomes like this real sort of profit with purpose, I
Hmm.
suppose, which is like really how weighing up you might weighing up how one action that you have in your business might have a negative social impact, but it might have a really amazing environmental uh,
Mm.
and it's like, well, how do you look at the two of them together, like offset them, and you might decide that it's not worth doing that amazing environmental impact measure because the consequences on the social are too high. So
Mm.
it's just about having that full circular awareness of your business and your business's impact. And
Mm.
I think if anybody's starting a business, it's good to start on those with those values, because
Mm.
it means that you can, as you grow in the right sort of way.
Mm.
A lot of businesses do the opposite and say, okay, yeah, we're not big enough yet to kind of really give back to this social cause or
Hmm.
to do this environmental, but we will get to it. But that's actually sometimes I think a backward way to look at it, really.
Yeah, because I guess once you're at that point, then technically it's cutting into your profit,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
you're to get to be earning that much that more money, you've got to have more staff, you've got your overheads that then get higher.
Yeah,
So you're better off to start as you mean to go on, so that it builds with you
yeah,
as you've got that in place. So I think that's so many. I think there's lots of brands, like clothing brands, that are getting called out, aren't they, because of their practices. But I think it's so hard for them to go. They would have to strip all the way back,
yeah,
or go push
exactly.
to do that. So I think it's really hard for that the fashion industry to do things, and I think that's why I've like seen some brands, like they aren't, I can't remember what the website is. There's a website and you can type brands in,
Right.
and it will tell you or give like where they are, so whether it's like good, bad, or better,
Yeah.
which is quite good. But I think some of them, it's like, yeah, they're not doing that, but then they're giving a lot to charity, so they're offsetting it, and
Yes.
they're giving a lot to other charities, and they're doing other things, so they're trying to give back in the way that they can.
Yes. Yeah.
But I don't know if that's good enough. But
Yeah, I think, well, the fashion industry was hugely hit with the when it was I can't remember when it was, like 7 years ago, with the Rama
mhm.
Plaza explosion, and
Oh
that
yeah.
that was when everything really kicked off in fashion. That's when everybody's eyes opened,
Mm.
um, and that's when the whole kind of fashion revolution launched, and the
Mm.
whole movement started. And it's really hard because I actually worked in the fashion industry up until, like, well, about 10 years ago maybe,
Mm.
but it was really hard for these businesses to have these kind of sudden knee-jerk reactions and try
Mm.
and kind of improve, because actually it was so entangled and complex and outdated, the supply chains, that it just made it really difficult. So that's why unfortunately a lot of these brands are really suffering now. A lot of the
Mm.
high street brands, as we kind of that used to once be really popular, they just can't keep up with the demand for like the more conscious consumerism.
Mm.
It's like a big factor, which is why, like, for me, like, looking in as a future of She's Lost Control, I kind of feel like She's Lost Control cannot survive without Crystal Clear.
Yeah.
So it was born out of necessity,
Hmm.
because there's nobody doing anything about it out there. And so I just kind of felt like I need to do it.
Mm.
I've got a responsibility as a retailer in this industry to kind of start trying to lead the dialogue on it.
Mm. And I wonder if it's from working with all those crystals that has opened you up in that way consciously,
Yeah,
to not, that you can't see it, and there is no other option than to put that
yeah,
energy into making it more sustainable and conscious.
exactly. And just opening me up to see, to realizing that it's not black and white. It's not.
Mm.
The only way you can really truly get any sort of understanding is by, like, actually communicating with these communities at, like, a
Mm.
grassroots level. It's really hard to. It's not as simple as, okay, don't buy that crystal.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a whole chain of people involved in that whole process.
Mm.
Just by stopping buying something, that's not the answer. There's
No.
actually have a worse impact.
Mm. Like you said, just having that conversation. So buy it, but making sure that, because I think if enough people keep asking, and
Yeah,
also sales are going down because of that, people will switch on, like, hang on a minute, this is important. We need to clear this up because people aren't going to buy this anymore. We need this business running.
exactly. And that is it as well. Clear it up. Like exactly the right term to use. Is
Mm.
clear it up because you might need to give people some clarity on it because
Mm.
that's what's missing here. It might be fine. There might have worked. We might the supply chain. It could be absolute. It could be amazing, but
Mm.
nobody's telling anybody that it's amazing, and
Yeah.
nobody recording anything. So
Mm.
let's if you've got a supply chain in the crystal industry that you're super proud of, let's start talking about it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what needs to sort of happen.
And for anybody that's listening and they're like, how can I support like Crystal Clear and like these communities? Like, what can they do?
So we give a percentage of all our sales at SLC to straight to the community, straight to Crystal Clear. So that's how it's funded initially. But also, if you go on Crystal Clear website, which is crystalclear.life, on there, there's all sorts of donation options.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either donate directly to the mining community, so the money goes straight to them. And at the minute, we've got a COVID rescue mission in place, so you can
Mm-hmm.
like, you can go on there and buy like a care package for
Amazing.
for 2 weeks or something like that. You can also buy them safety equipment if you want to buy like a safety mask.
Mm-hmm.
To a lot of miners can be at risk of getting silicosis, which is from quartz dust. So if they haven't got the right masks, then that's obviously it's endangering their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So you can buy someone a mask, or you can contribute to. We also have an option for a more sustainable and mindful future, which is where you're given, that's the more long-term vision. So that will be, okay, when the mines run dry, are we looking at these communities and providing them with the skills to farm,
Mm-hmm.
or do like build an organic farm, or teach them new skills like stone cutting and things. So there's different ways that you can donate. If you head
Mm.
to the website, you can see it on there.
Amazing. I'll put yeah, I will put all the links. I've got such a backlog. I want to have a podcast like library on my website with all the links and the videos and everything, but I can't keep up. I'm the same as you. I can't keep up with all the ideas that I have. But like, what would you say like is like the biggest lesson that you've learned through running She's Lost Control and doing everything that you do? And it can be about anything, but
Um, the biggest lesson actually has probably been about taking risks. I think
mm-hmm.
to take risks. I feel like I've taken a lot of risks, and they haven't always maybe worked out. But I've always felt like, again, it's probably that Aries. It's that Aries energy, isn't it? Following me around. But yeah, that kind of I get a buzz off taking a risk.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me feel more in tune, and it makes
Mm-hmm.
kind of I just kind of thrive off it, and then I kind
Mm.
of glide through if I take a risk, and I kind of, yeah, I enjoy it. So I think that's been a lesson, because when I initially left my job, I had a really good job in buying, um, and everyone thought I had gone mad just leaving my job
Mm. I
in
remember us talking about it, She's Lost Control though, because you just opened the shop. You were
yeah,
still you were only working at part time,
yeah.
and I was still hairdressing, and we were like, we've got to do this like at the same point, weren't we?
I know.
Giving
And
each other pep talks.
that was the biggest risk that was a big risk for me doing that. Like my family were like, oh, what, you're leaving this job? And I had a really stable job. I'd done really well in my career, and on paper everything seemed fine, but
Mm.
just something missing. I wouldn't have enough it wasn't creative enough for me, and
Mm.
I just wanted to do my own thing. But that was terrifying, because I wasn't someone who'd done like freelance before or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. I was always like, I think it was similar. We were talking about similar things where
Mm.
you left your job in the hairdressers, but yeah, that was the first of many lessons of taking a risk, and
Mm.
it kind of worked out. And I kind of am used to that. I'm used to that adrenaline, that feeling.
Now you're just this risk junkie now. You've done it.
I'm used to the fear. No.
But I think that's where confidence comes from. It's like is taking that risk and stepping outside of your comfort zone and then getting to that other side and being like, oh, everything was okay, I survived. Or yeah, that didn't work out how I thought it was, but I learned this and now I'm here. So great.
Yeah,
So I think that that's where confidence comes from as well,
yeah,
as much as doing other things. But it
definitely.
is taking those risks.
Yeah, definitely. It was around my Saturn return that as well, so it was all
Mm,
kind of change and things like that. So it was,
yeah.
yeah, it was a really kind of a turning point in my life, in my
Mm.
career, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Saturn returns such a big theme that keeps coming up for
Yeah,
people when I talk to people on this podcast. Where it's like, when did that happen? And they're like 28, 29, like
yeah,
Saturn return. I'm like, of course.
yeah.
So I think it is so. I think for so many people, I mean, I think a lot of us that I've been interviewing are sort of around the similar age as well. So I was talking to. Are we the same age? What year were you born in?
Yeah, 82. I think we're the same.
Okay, I'm 84.
Oh, 84.
94. But I was talking, I always think that we're the same age, but I was talking to, yeah.
Maybe 84.
I always have to check, but definitely 84. Definitely eight.
Same, right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm 30. I'm 36. I have to check myself. But um, now I'm like, am I 36? Part of me's like, I'm sure I'm younger.
Are you not 35? Because are you in a 36 in? Oh no,
I
no,
don't
I'm
know.
36.
30. Yeah, I'm over 30. Well, I'm there. But I was speaking to Kimberly in another episode, and she was saying like how it was like, and who is it? Francesca Oddi mentioned it as well about this like Neptune in Pisces. So this time it's for all of us around the similar time have like really kind of like opened up to this mystical world and are bringing it to the mainstream.
Amazing.
So we're kind of, yeah,
That.
helping to open the doors for other people. But yeah, what else can people expect from you? Like, where can they find She's Lost Control? How can they enjoy all of the benefits from being part of that gorgeous community?
So, you can follow us on Instagram. So it's SLC underscore London.
Mm-hmm.
And we are running, so we launched this in lockdown. We launched our community culture, which is all our digital events. So
Mm-hmm.
we've got all sorts of kind of alternative wellness.
I did yin yoga with Lisa the other
I
day.
did.
It was so dreamy.
So we've got a combination of events that we ran religiously, like at our space at 42 Valentine
Mm.
Road. Lisa being one of them. So
Yeah.
Lisa's every Monday for I feel like 3 years now,
Mm.
nearly. Might be. Lisa has run Monday night Crystal Yin, and then so that's you can just do that online now on
Mm.
Zoom. And then we have like kind of master classes as well. So if you want to really learn a new skill, then you can do like you can learn the tarot, or
Mm-hmm.
you can. I think tonight we've got masterclass in intuition,
Mm-hmm.
and then we also have our like moon circles. So Tree does every full moon, every new moon. They're really popular, and we just started sending out little. You can order like a moon ritual set, so we
Mm-hmm.
can kind of participate in it together
Oh,
with
nice.
followers. We like pick them
Mm-hmm.
for each month. So there's that, and then there's obviously our new store at 74 Broadway Market in
In East
Hackney,
London.
London.
Hackney.
um, so yeah, so we're open every day, so you can come down there, and we've actually called it our new. It's like a shopping sanctuary, so it's kind of
Mm.
feeling like the flow of energy in the whole space is really being considered. So we've got like selenite in the walls, and the back room has all got clear quartz in the cement in the marble floor. And so everything's natural minerals on the walls as well. It's really important to consider the flow of energy in the space. Especially with everything that's happened with lockdown, I felt like retail's not necessarily. I knew it was going to be a struggle for retail.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I kind of was thinking, oh my God, I'm opening a physical bricks and mortar store
Mm.
out of lockdown. But it, you know, it's a real, it is a community space though as well. So having that sanctuary vibe was a really important thing, so that it
Mm.
kind of feel like there's a new there's a newness to retail, that it's
Mm-hmm.
like stepping into a new kind of space. So yeah, so we've got like kind of arches, which we've looked at all like feng shui, and there's all sorts of lovely little elements for how the
Yeah.
energy goes to the space. You can come there. We've got like tarot, oracle readings, astrology readings, or
Aura.
photography. So we've got all of that, and then yeah, and then online. So
Mm.
www.she'suscontrol.co.uk. But yeah, website, and we'll be updating that soon, as well, because we haven't got a lot of new product on there at the moment. Sorry,
Mm.
it's so hard to
Still
get
in the shop.
all in the shop. So
Mm.
and
And
you
you're doing the virtual
yeah, we're
triple.
doing virtual. Yeah, so if you just want to have a virtual appointment, we just take you around the shop. So you just book in for that online. It's all on our website, and yeah, it's £10, but it's redeemable off the whatever you spend in the
Mm.
shop. So and it's quite good because you get one of us kind of, it's like a bespoke little personal
Hmm.
shopping experience. So you get one of us taking you around, explaining everything to you.
Hmm. Is it on like FaceTime or Zoom or?
Is on Zoom.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Love that. Um, so what else was I going to ask? Yeah, so to wrap up this conversation, something that I ask all of my guests is that you all have probably heard with the other episodes that you've listened to, is that if you could go back to another phase in your life, when would it be? And it could be to just enjoy it, it could be to tell yourself something or a lesson that you learned in that time.
It'd be, which we've kind of touched on already, but it would definitely be going back to me when I was in that stable job, just
Mm,
about to leave, not worrying if I was making the right choice or not, just to kind of tell myself that this is going to be okay, that
mm-hmm,
because the feelings and the emotions that I had at that time, I didn't really know where I was going, and I didn't really have a plan,
mm-hmm,
really. I was just winging it, to be
mm,
honest. And I just knew there was something inside of me that knew that this wasn't for me anymore. This like Monday to Friday um, job working for Philip Green.
mm,
And it just didn't sit well with me anymore. Like
mm,
I saw some factories in India that just broke my heart, and
mm,
I just kind of thought, this, I can't do this anymore. So, but didn't have a full on plan. Jesus Control didn't exist then, so it came later. But that was the brainchild of having
mm,
that space to kind of actually be able to make the jump. So I definitely go back to then and just kind of, tell myself that you're going to get to this point, it's going to be okay, you're doing
mm.
the right thing. And also you're going to learn on this journey, you're going to learn a load of skills to help you deal with the journey that you're going on,
Yeah.
because at that point I wasn't meditating or anything. I had, I wasn't doing any of that. And so
Mm,
it came later, after
mm,
leaving my job. That's when I started to enter into that world. So it kind of, I didn't know at that point that I was going to have all these other little aids that were going to really help me, and tools that were going to help me on
mm.
the way, let alone crystals.
Yeah.
I had no idea what that was going to happen there.
What
So
does your uncle think now?
he just he cringes. He's always goes, "Oh, I don't, none of that sort of stuff that you go on about, though." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'll try and have a scientific conversation with him
Yeah.
um, about like how it can generate currents and things like that."
Mm.
And I bought like a levitation machine to.
Mhm. Of course you did.
I can't remember if I told you this.
Yeah, you told me you were getting it.
With sound, and I'm really into the science of things, but
Mhm,
more about like, because I want to kind of convince people who won't convert because of the
mhm,
science. So I think if you can just drip feed some bits of information to them, then it can maybe sway them a little bit. But yeah, my uncle's just like, he's open to it in some ways, but then he's
mm,
just a bit like, then he's like, oh. Nah, I don't get it.
I guess it's, well, I don't know. I was going to say it's a different generation, but there will be people that are your uncle's age that are
Yeah,
well into all of this, like
definitely.
old school.
Yeah, I mean, he'll say, "Oh, yeah, it makes sense."
Mm,
So I can have a conversation about the science of it with him, and he can say it makes sense. But then, well, it's scientists being scientists. They
of
won't.
course.
If it's something they can't measure, then
Mm,
they won't kind of agree to it. So
mm,
it's that. It's just the science side's ingrained. It was yeah, but I think like with science though, they don't, what they don't understand is our consciousness. We don't understand how
mm.
interrelate with with consciousness and with energy, but they're happy to use it every day of their lives for everything else in
Yeah,
technology and
yeah.
science. But as soon as you mention anything to do with consciousness and how they interact with our energy field, it's like, eh.
I think there are so many cynics out there, but haven't even tried,
Yes, yes,
like, or been open to an experience. Like, I know some of my most fun, like, one-to-one sessions for Reiki are with people that are skeptical,
yeah.
because they're like, okay, go on then, like, but like someone's booked, like their wife's like booked it in for them, and then they're like, okay, and then after they're like, oh my god, no, like literally they had this guy's like, now I know what the meaning of life is, like it was a thing, like he's like I could feel, like I could feel this happening, and he's like, you were actually doing stuff. I was like, yeah. And I think for so many people that are like, for me, I don't think that it's for us to convince or convert people, but it's for us to keep sharing what we're passionate about and have that there available to them when they're ready, or at that moment when they are just a little bit curious.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, because a lot of the time I find a lot of people that come in the shop or that message us, they are curious, but
Mm,
because of they haven't got that more science backup side of it,
mm,
they can't let themselves go there,
yeah,
and they just can't open up to it. So I always find it really helps to be able to talk about that side of things to people, then they feel safer
yeah,
in.
some people work like that, don't they?
Yeah.
Mm, it is, yeah, but then there's also so many things that aren't scientifically proven that are so effective and powerful.
Of
But that's
course.
like a whole other thing. I love it. That's a whole conspiracy theory
Everything
conversation.
that our entire careers are built on.
Yeah. Yeah, and there will be people that will be calling us charlatans and taking advantage of people, but for me it's like, speak to the people that
Yeah,
have had, I'm not lying, I'm just creating experiences for people or sharing information for people to have their own experience.
yeah, exactly.
And if they're into it, and they wouldn't be still be around, we wouldn't still be talking about crystals to
Yeah,
the point of wanting to set up um
yeah,
things to support these communities to keep it going if there wasn't something in it.
yeah, completely.
Wow, right, let's leave it on that. Thank you so much, Jo. It's been so good talking to you.
Oh, it's been lovely. Thank you
Love
for having
this.
me.